Alright, thank you for tuning in to yet another video by Coach Classic King L here. Alrighty, now is going to be less of a lecture and more of a book review on my notes that I've taken on Bell Hooks, All About Love. Alrighty, I would definitely suggest this book to all of the men because we build up our own philosophies, our own thoughts, our own emotional well-being when it comes to dealing with love, whether that's through the stereotypes, the stigmas, the indoctrinations of how a man should or shouldn't be, should or shouldn't feel, should or shouldn't think when it comes to love, right? And how we deal with that in our relationships, how we deal with it within ourselves and our families and communities. Alrighty. So this is a book review once again about All About Love from the author Bell Hooks. Alrighty. I'm gonna be reading from my notes that I've taken from this book. Despair about love is coupled with a callous cynicism that forms upon any suggestion that love is as important as work, as crucial to our survival as a nation, as to the nation as survival to our nation as the drive to succeed. Alrighty. Family is the first source in teaching love, and I agree. Our family structure is our first rendition of the world, right? It's our first vision of what the world is or should or shouldn't be like, right? We get all that through our families. We experience love or the lack of through our family structures and our friends growing up, right? Love is the will to extend oneself for the purpose of nurturing one's own or another's spiritual growth as defined by Erich Fromm. Alrighty? So let's say that, let me repeat that. Love is the will to extend oneself for the purpose of nurturing one's own or another's spiritual growth as defined by Erich Fromm. Alrighty. Let me break down the concept of cathexis. Cathexis. C-A-T-H-E-X-I-S. Alrighty. The investment of emotional significance in an activity, object, or idea. This means people draw in an emotional attachment or physical attachment due to the time, energy, money, or other source invested into something. Alrighty? Meaning that people may start, let's say, a relationship off of lust, off of infatuation, off of superficial aspects of somebody's personality or somebody's life, right? And through the investment of time, energy, money, love, and even sexual energy, a lot of times, right? People get caught up in these attachments to where they will stay in a toxic environment, stay in a toxic relationship or a situationship, a marriage, and are scared to move on or to let go, or just maybe even try something different in their relationship because of the time and the energy that is invested in the relationship, right? So cathexis is basically investing in so much energy, right? That you feel that you need to stay in that relationship, or it's just you're being involved in it for a prolonged period of time because of whatever type of investments that you've put into it, right? Alrighty. The only thing we could truly control and own in this world is ourselves, right? No matter what anybody else may think, due to the contrary, even slavery, you can't own nobody, right? The only thing that we could truly own in this world is yourself. That's the only thing that we can truly control is ourselves, right? Is ourselves. You can't control nobody. You can't control what they think, what they feel, what they say. Ultimately. Now, people try. There's been systems in place to where programs are placed on the people, right? But ultimately, you can't control anybody. All right? Certainly, we can truly love and gain commitment to one another, but we each have our own right to be ourselves. If someone does not fit what you need spiritually, you cannot fault that person for their choice of lifestyle, all right? Just recognize that and search for someone who is more of what you need spiritually, alrighty? Don't be mad, or don't put somebody else down, or don't fault anybody for their choice of their way of life. If let's say you meet somebody and initially you like them or whatnot, but you see that their way of life is not for you, that is okay. Their way of life does not mean that they're wrong. Alrighty, that's what they want for their lives. You want something else for your life, go ahead and find somebody that represents you spiritually in that light, right? Communication. Honest communication, that is, all right, is very important when it comes to love, because how can we truly love each other if we don't communicate effectively and honestly? All right, I know even I make mistakes in my own life, where I may not have communicated honestly or even effectively in relationships, right? And that leads to problems, that leads to issues, that leads to me or somebody else feeling unfulfilled in the relationship, right? Effective communication will solve most issues or problems, present or future, all right? Or even can solve some of the past issues, right? A lot of the times our eyes, lusts, desires motivate us or entice us into relationships that may not be for us, all right? Hence why many marriages fail nowadays. What's the statistic on that? I think it's, they say 3 out of 4 marriages will go through a divorce. That's a sad statistic, right? Like, that means a lot of people's times are being wasted, right? A lot of energy is being wasted, right? 3 out of 4 people, damn. That's a lot. Alrighty? Basically 75%, right? It starts from intentions in the very beginning of meeting and getting to know someone. Alrighty? Abuse and or neglect negate love. Alrighty? So when anybody feels like they're being neglected, when anybody feels like they're being abused in any type of way, shape, or form, that negates the feeling of love, all right, or the effects of love, right? Parents tend to miss this concept, right? Justify physical force for love, alrighty? Certainly there are ways to chastise a child without physical harm, then claiming it's out of love, because that's when trauma comes into play, right? And I say the so-called black community, melanated community, African American community. We we are thrown into a lot of trauma because we are taught that because we are physically harmed, that means that we are loved, right? And then we get into relationships to where somebody may physically harm us, especially women, and they may look at that as, oh, that person loves me, right? This gives a child the misinterpretation of what love is and how it is shown and conducted, right? Trauma starts early in life this way. Trauma starts early in life this way and has devastating effects that can last a lifetime, right? There's people that's dealing with childhood trauma that are in their 70s, 60s, 50s, 40s right now, right? We gotta start overcoming this stuff, all right? So, devastating life in this can last a lifetime. Concerning love for oneself, self-love cannot flourish in isolation. Alrighty? That means, well, I think there's two parts to that. I think people need to be involved or around other people who are able to nurture them. But I think there's also a period in time or in one's life where isolation could be good for their self growth, for their self improvement. Alrighty? Getting away out of the noise, out of the crowd, right? Getting away from family and just able to just be able to think. Alrighty, just sit down, be left in your own thoughts. But we shouldn't be too stuck within our own minds, within our own thoughts. I think that's what it means by isolation, alrighty? Because if we isolate ourselves for too long, we start going in these cycles, right? And we start justifying or reasoning ourselves through our own selves, right? Start answering ourselves. That's why we should always have good leaders, and everybody, not even just leaders, we should all have a counsel, meaning people who advise us, we have mentors, people who can give us good advice when it comes to how we should move in our lives, comes to how we should think or feel, right? We should always seek out some type of positive influence when it comes to advice, right? All right. In the book of John, biblically, it says, anyone who does not know love is still in death. Damn. I think that's a big statement. You know, because that leads me to the quote that people say, it's better to have loved and failed to have never have loved at all, right? Because then you gain a new perspective of life, you gain a new perspective of the world, you gain a new perspective of what it means to be in a state of like bliss, right? Because anytime that we're in love, truly in love, right, at the height of our relationships, right, we're in this like this blissful state of mind, this heaven state, right? That leads me to say we don't need to die to experience heaven. All right. All awakening to love is spiritual awakening. When love is present, the desire to dominate and exercise power cannot rule the day, right? Learning how to face our fears is one way we embrace love. By loving ourselves, we're able to love others, right? Intense spiritual and emotional lack in our lives is the perfect breeding ground for material greed and overconsumption. We live in a society where people are willing to kill, cheat, and steal for material gain, even outside of poverty. Right? Even outside of poverty. You don't have to lie, cheat, steal, and kill just because you're poor. There's people that have money that do all of that. So there's no financial status that is exempt from that. Unfortunately, we live in a nation or society that normalizes this dysfunction. Yeah, especially here in the U.S., man, mental health is I could get into that whole conspiracy, but I'm not. But it's like mental health issues are bred in the U.S. society. Mental health conditions are programmed into us to have these issues, to have these conditions, so that way people can't function correctly, can't function for themselves, can't do for themselves, right? They always need to be medicated or sedated in order to function, right? We have to stop using love for self-satisfying, self-centered needs and emotions, right? There is such thing as healthy narcissism, and I actually talk about that in one of my other lectures, which empowers self-acceptance, self-worth, and self-love. Living simply can make loving simple. Meaning, when you don't have all these things in life and all these bills and all these material things, loving, receiving and giving can be simple in life, right? The best way for a community to come together first starts with each individual. Each person is a seed that must be nurtured for it to grow and produce positive energy back into their surrounding environment. If we want freedom and peace in the experience of love and being loved, we must let go and forgive. Alrighty? I think that's one of the biggest things in life, man. A lot of us are holding on to past trauma, past hurt. Even if you're unable to get what people call closure, just move on. Sometimes we won't ever be able to get or receive that closure that we're looking for, right? Sometimes we just need to let go and just be like, you know what? I'm moving on, man. I'm moving on. Whatever happened. I'm closing it. You know, don't leave it to somebody else to give you closure. Close that door yourself and just keep on moving, right? And that's being willing to forgive. You know, you don't have to hate that person. You don't have to be spiteful. Animosity. It's just, you know what? I'm just moving on. Like, I don't hate you. I'm just moving on. Just moving on. It is what it is. It's best that we just move on. Okay? We cannot endure without love, which is crucial for healing. Alrighty? Love, like I said earlier, love heals all wounds. Whether self-love or mutual love, intimate love. Alright? Knowing how to be solitary is central to the art of loving. Meaning learning how to love yourself first. Learning how to be alone with yourself first is part of the art of loving. Because how can you love me if you don't truly love yourself, right? That's where a lot of relationships go wrong, right? And I've even messed up in my own relationships because there's been probably parts or times in a relationship where I wasn't truly doing for myself, which can be led to a lack of self-love for me, right? And if I don't truly show up for myself, how can I truly show up for somebody else, right? Now, I've always loved myself, but it's more so showing myself true self-love that I do what needs to be done at certain times, right? Because we don't always do what needs to be done, right? And that can mean a lack of self-love for ourselves, right? Loneliness makes us cling to others in desperation. A lot of people stay stuck in relationships or situationships for the simple fact of they're afraid of being alone. Cathexis. They invested so much time and energy that all they know is this person. The thought of having to do that all over again, they rather just stay in that situation because this is what they know. This is what feels comfortable to them, right? On another note, the practice of love offers no place of safety. So just because you love and show love and give love does not mean you are safe. And I'm going to explain that. Meaning we risk loss. We risk being hurt. We risk pain by loving. Alrighty? Just because we love, just because we give love, just because we experience love, does not mean we won't be subjected to hurt and pain. That is all part of love. You know, they say if you don't experience the bad, how can you truly enjoy the good? Okay, how can you truly enjoy the sun if you don't go through the rain? Right? The same way with love. We gotta experience loss. We gotta experience hurt and pain, so that way we can truly value the love that we have in our lives. Alrighty. We risk being acted upon by forces outside of our control. Choosing to be honest when we love, we risk being acted upon by forces outside of our control in a negative way, right? Choosing to be honest is the first step in the process of love. The next step is communication. I touched base on that earlier. First responsibility of love is to listen. Okay? They say we have two ears and one mouth. All right? Listen twice, speak once. Listen twice, speak once. Deep commitment does not guarantee the success of the relationship. So just because you are deeply committed to that relationship does not ultimately equate to success to that relationship, right? Sometimes people are just meant to be with each other for a season, to learn a lesson, to move on, so that way they could take that lesson into the next relationship maybe. But that also leads me to also say, just because of a relationship doesn't work out and in one season, it could be like a path that you're meant to cross each other. You go away from each other, right? You go away, and then the path comes back to each other, and you continue forward. Man, no relationship worth having is easy, man. It takes work. It takes hard work. And sometimes, some relationships, we got to grow apart in order to grow closer together. You know, sometimes love, sometimes relationships work like that. Some of the greatest relationships, even friendships, we grow apart just to find our way back to each other, and it's like, damn, it's even better than how we left it, right? So love is a beautiful thing, man, and we gotta learn how to maneuver in the waters of love, right? Spiritual growth of another person requires consistency, all right? Suffering and pain does not end when we begin to love. Acceptance of pain is part of loving practice, meaning that accepting that you're going to be hurt because you love. It's part of loving. Keep loving. Don't stop. Keep loving, all right? Don't stop. Love is the highest vibration. There's always going to be entities. There's always going to be people that's going to tug you down and bring you down to their level. You keep loving. Move on. Move on. Keep loving. All right? Men are the, okay, I'm gonna touch on something here, y'all. Men are the real sleeping beauties. Ooh. Man, when I read that really hit home. Men are the real sleeping beauties. Right? Because it takes women for us to be, it takes women for us to be awoken to love, and to the aspect of love, and into true love, especially in today's society, right? It takes a woman to like show a man what love is, right? Whether that's your mama, your girl, whoever, it's the women really that awaken the man to love and to, softens our hearts. It can even be your daughter, right? Doesn't necessarily have to be your mama. Doesn't necessarily have to be your girlfriend or your wife. It could be your daughter, right? How many men went through their lives and, you know what I mean, doing them Rolling Stone type, really ain't love. What's that? Who that? You know what I mean? Until they had their daughter, and then it's like, man, that really like opened up something that they didn't even know what was inside of them, right? Yeah, so I'm very grateful for the women in my life. I say that gratefully. I say that with the highest respect, with the highest regard. Like, I am truly honored. I truly revere the women in my life. I am honored. I am grateful. And I am very, 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 very appreciative of the fact that I have more than one woman in my life that I call mama. Man, that is an awesome feeling, to have more than one woman in your life that you can call mama. You know what I mean? That is, and I think for people who have that in their lives, you know what I mean, like to have a woman, more than one woman in your life that you call mama. And I'm not saying you're your wife, but I'm saying that you really call mom or mama. I'm very grateful for all the women in my life that I call mama. And I truly mean that. Like, you may not have birthed me, but you are my mother. Like, you mother me. And I don't take that lightly. I have great love for every single one of y'all. Thank you for the love that y'all shown to me. It has truly, I have great value in you. All right. But let me keep moving. Like I said, men, we are the true sleeping beauties. The practice of love takes time. Attention is as important resource in romantic relationships. I know we have this stigma or this thing about attention, right? But sometimes attention is good in a relationship. That shows other people that we care for them, or that we are listening to them, that we take heed to what they need, right? Attention isn't necessarily a bad thing. Giving your lady attention doesn't necessarily mean she's needy. It just means that you're showing her that you care for her, that you recognize certain aspects about her, right? The same thing goes for a child-parent relationship. Alrighty. Cultivating a generous heart, the primary quality of an awakened mind, right? So when we awaken to this state of love, and we're able to operate in that, we start to feel that love in us, that's able to give and be generous and be able to open up ourselves to the world, right? And that was by Sharon Salzberg. Let me repeat that again. Cultivating a generous heart, the primary quality of an awakened mind. Sharon Salzberg. Giving is healing to the spirit, right? By helping others in return, that can help us, right? When we help others genuinely without wanting or seeking anything in return. All right? If men were socialized to desire love, we see a cultural revolution. That's one hell of a statement. If men were socialized to desire love and to be able to express their love, we will see a cultural revolution. I like that. Don't allow disappointment to close your heart. We see what we want to see, right? Sometimes we get so caught up on maybe what somebody's telling us, maybe by what somebody is showing us, we get caught up on what we want to see, right? True love puts you in touch with each other's core identity. This love nurtures us and challenges us to grow and to transform. When we commit to true love, we commit to change. All right? We commit to change. And that leads me back to self-love. When you love yourself, you commit to change and growth. All right? Even in myself, I'm starting to realize that, man, I need to give myself more self-love. Meaning that there's things about me that I need to change and adjust within my own life, right? Being afraid to risk, we cannot know love. Love is letting go of fear. We discover our true selves in love, right? When we're able to love and able to express ourselves in love, we're living in this state of bliss where we're able to express ourselves at the highest state, at our highest selves, right? Love is stronger than death. The children we produce represent the love that is between man and woman. Their vibrational spirit coming out of the mother is only as high as the spirits and physical bodies. All right, our children are only as good, are only as spiritual as the parents are healthy mentally, physically, mentally as the parents are, right? By bell hooks. Oh no, I wrote bell hooks. Didn't write this. That was just my own thoughts. The children that we produce ultimately embody us, the two parents, right? So whatever the two parents are thinking, feeling, or going on emotionally, internally between those two parents, that child is going to embody. And there's been a lot of studies to where a lot of things, not just genetics as far as physical genetics, but mental, emotional genetics are passed down through children. All right? We as men have to learn to submit to our women when needed. Right? It's a give and take. We can't always be the force in charge. Our women know how to lead in certain areas that we don't, right? And we gotta respect that and know when to let our women lead. Don't make us less of a man. We're a team, and we lead and we move as such, right? She has areas where she is best to lead, and we gotta let her and trust her. Love makes us feel more alive. Anyone who does not know love is still in death. Cultures of domination court death. All right? Love empowers us to live fully and to die well. The laws of Mayat, letting our hearts be lighter than a feather, right? Being able to die well. Death becomes then not an end to life, but a part of living. Our collective fear of death is a dis-ease of the heart. All right, because ultimately we live forever. We keep going. Our spirits live forever. Our souls live forever. All right. The rugged individual who relies on no one else is a figure who can only exist in a culture of domination. Meaning, we shouldn't just rely on ourselves. We weren't created to rely on ourselves. We are people of tribalistic. We're people of tribalistic qualities. Meaning, we find different flocks. We find different organizations or people to cling on to. Right? People that suit us. People that vibe with our frequency. Right? Rarely, if ever, are any of us healed in isolation, and I talked about that. Healing is an act of communion. It takes a tribe sometimes to heal somebody, right? That's why we gather around a wounded individual. We nurture them. Most of us find that space of healing communion with like-minded souls. Others recover themselves in their communion with divine spirit. Men, it's not just the women who are divine. Men, we divine too. Men, we are divine. Just know that. All right? The bridge of illusion must be destroyed before a real bridge can be constructed. All right? Love in action is always about service. Right? We should service one another. What we do to enhance spiritual growth, right, is through service. Without conscious forgiveness, there can be no genuine reconciliation between two people, right? Or a nation, or people, whatever. The healing power of redemptive love lures us and calls us forward the possibility of healing. Power gives us the illusion of having triumphed over fear, over our need to love, right? Power does not mean you have control over all areas or all aspects, right? That's usually just an illusion people cling to, right? When there's certain lacks or certain insecurities in their life, right? Love is our true destiny, and we do not find the meaning of life by ourselves alone. We find it with one another. By Thomas Morton. Alrighty, that concludes my notes for the book. So yeah, I really hope that some of the things, my notes that I've written, that you could really expound on them, really think about the things that I've said. And those are all notes taken from the book All About Love by Bell Hooks. Like I said in the beginning, I think us men, you could benefit greatly by reading that book. We definitely need to open up ourselves more to love when it comes to, women. And because, man, we take love hard, don't we? we ready to cause havoc. We ready to cause chaos. We ready to blow up the whole damn world. If somebody violates our relationship or because of a woman, wars are fought because of a woman. You know what I mean? Like, women have a lot of power. Men don't want to acknowledge that sometimes, or don't even want to really admit that. But we got to admit that as men, that women definitely hold their own power within themselves, right? So definitely check that book out. Take your time with it. Take your own notes. Pass it along to your friends, to your family. Alrighty. So that has been my book review on Bell Hooks, All About Love. Alrighty. Go check it out. So as always, have fun. Be safe, and always, always, always be yourself. Love y'all.